What's going on, guys? Justin Florio here from Patience and Consistency, and today I want to bring you a workout that you can do from home with just one dumbbell. And if you don't have a box or a bench at home, what you can use in replacement is your couch. So I'm going to go over a bunch of different variations of each movement that you can be doing. We're going to go over 5 movements. We're going to go through an entire full body workout that you can do with just one dumbbell. I want to first start off with is just step ups. So pretend you have a couch and you're downstairs. What I want you to do, make sure you find something relatively sturdy, maybe the center piece of one of the cushions, and I want you to just put one foot on that box. And from here, I want you to drive yourself all the way up, okay? And bring both feet up. Now, if it's super shaky, stay away from the couch, maybe move over to the steps because that's gonna be something a little bit more sturdy for you. But for the most case, whatever you find, if it's a bench, a box, the steps, whatever it is, I want you to focus first by just keeping that one foot on the whole time. And because we're trying to get stronger over time, we're gonna go for 6 on each side. Now, 2 ways to progress this and make it a little bit harder. I always want to get the balance down first. So from here, if we're keeping the foot on and we're driving this foot up here, maybe try to be a little bit more explosive and drive that knee up at the top. So from here, drive the knee up. Always stick each position. And for the most part, when I'm doing step ups, I like to keep my same foot on the entire time. So this way I'm loading that muscle up and then I'll switch over. Now, if you do those, you can take your dumbbell. You have a few options. You can either let it sit here on the collarbone, you can let it rest on a shoulder. I'm gonna hold it in this front rack position, and we're gonna do the opposite side. Now, if you have the balance down from here, nice deep breath in on the way down, and you're gonna breathe out on the way up. And don't be scared to overemphasize that breathing, especially during big, heavy strength movements. We just got lower body out of the way. From here, more of an upper body movement. I love to start with pulling exercises first. In my opinion, it gets my lats and my upper back engaged, which will help my shoulders long term. If you have, we do need the dumbbell for this movement. If you have a couch, all I want you to do is just put one hand, I'll give you a little bit more of a lateral view, one hand on the bench. It should be stacked right over your shoulder. So you're aggressively pushing through the bench, and that should force your core to work. We don't want to be rounded, just a slight bend in the knees. And we're gonna take this dumbbell, and from here, we're pulling all the way into the body, okay? This, just aimlessly pulling into the body, isn't going to do anything. So what I want you to really focus on doing, you're gonna slowly drop it down. Take that deep breath in on the way down, and breathe out as you pull that dumbbell into the body. Slow and controlled. Because what we want to do is make sure we're feeling the right muscle group, right? So this is a big primary mover. It's called your lats. And that's the muscle that runs pretty much from the armpit all the way down like a V, down to the center back of your upper back, to your spine. So a lot of people will do this and they just aimlessly do it with their biceps and they feel a lot of the arms. So what I want you to think about doing, every single time you pull that dumbbell into the body, try to get the shoulder blade back as much as you can, and I want you to try to create that muscle-mind connection to really feel your lats. You're trying to pull your shoulder down into your back pocket, and that should force this to work, okay? So we'll do same thing, 6 to 8 on each side. Good, slow, controlled reps. So that's gonna work your upper back. That's movement number 2. When you're set up in that position, I want you to think like someone's gonna come over, Mike Tyson's gonna come over and punch you in the belly so that this way you can protect your back. And one other small thing that I've seen with clients over time, when you set up, don't take the dumbbell here and try to set yourself up. Put your other hand down on the bench first, brace your body, and then once your core is engaged, then you take that dumbbell down and start going into the movement, okay? Really quick before I go over our 3rd movement, I just want to apologize for the outfit change. Last night I was editing the video and then all of a sudden I realized that I had my phone angled the wrong way, so I wasn't getting the right kind of camera angle. But movement number 3, it's a great way to challenge yourself and it's a great way to isolate your hamstrings and almost pretend like this is the side of your couch. I want you to use that to help create some stability. So all we're gonna do is just try to stand on one leg and you're almost gonna think about nose diving forward and have a slight bend in the knees, and you're gonna let yourself fall and try to lengthen this leg as much as you can. This is that working leg here, and then we're gonna stand tall. And I want you to just go through a few progressions of that, of using the couch in the beginning, just to get used to that balance. Do the other side just to make sure that it feels okay on both sides. And then from here, if you want to try to challenge yourself, it would go, number one, keeping your fingers on there the whole time just to create that stability. Number two would try not to hold on to that. And then number three, as silly as this might sound, it actually helps counterbalance for that balance aspect of the movement when you have a dumbbell. So if I'm holding with my right hand, I'm gonna reach down to my left leg. And the biggest thing I want you to think about is not reaching forward. You wanna keep everything pretty compact. So you're gonna keep that dumbbell right over your toes, kick the leg back, and now bring yourself up. And then number two, one of the biggest things I see people do is they break at the shoulder and they try to reach more here, and they don't feel anything in their hamstrings. So be proud of who you are, chest really high, kick the leg back. It might limit that range of motion, but you're gonna get such a bigger stretch in that hamstring and activate that side more. It's a great way to make sure that both sides are working. We do a lot of unilateral work within this video, only because if you're just beginning to work out, it's really easy to compensate. If you're doing a squat and holding on to weight, it's very easy to drive through your more dominant side. So with the step ups and the RDLs, even with the rows and our next movement, it's great to isolate each limb. Movement number 4, we're gonna start doing an overhead press. So we did our pulling. The whole idea of the pulling was to activate our lats to help protect our shoulders when we go into an overhead position. So before we even start pressing overhead, ideally I want you to go up to a wall, and I want you to keep your elbows tucked in, and I want you to just reach as far overhead as you possibly can and see how that movement feels. If you don't have a lot of shoulder discomfort, then we can start to progress. But if you do get a little bit of discomfort, I want you to go for your 6 to 8 reps and focus more on trying to create that range of motion through the shoulders so that we can start to get into that overhead press. When that feels okay and you can progress to a weight, if you have your dumbbell at home, we're gonna bring the dumbbell to your shoulder. We're gonna let the elbow flare out just a little bit, not completely out to the side, not all the way tucked in, just a little angle, like 45 degrees. I like to make a fist with my left hand, and then I just press straight overhead. Slow and control, and I wanna think about leading with the elbows. From the back side, I want you to think about using your shoulder blades to help bring the weight overhead. So the shoulder blade is going to raise, and then as I bring the elbows down, my shoulder blade is gonna come down and back into my pocket. And the shoulder blade is one of the biggest movers within any kind of shoulder movements, and I think that's one of the biggest flaws when it comes to the average individual and exercising, is that we don't use our shoulder blades to help move. Final piece, especially when it comes to overhead movements, within human nature, we're always trying to progress fast, fast, fast. Start with a 3-pound weight. Start with a soup can, progress to a 3-pound weight, to a 5-pound weight, until you can fully do the repetitions, and always make sure you're getting full range of motion. Anyone can do this, right? But I want you to focus on that full range of motion and understand that every day is going to feel different. Meaning some days you're gonna feel really strong to get, but then some days the shoulders could be achy, and to always listen to your body. That's a really important thing to remember. And number 5, my final movement for the program today is a dead bug variation. But all I want you to do, you're gonna lie down, think about chin tucked in, so we have a pretty neutral spine. I like to reach my hands straight up to the ceiling, and then we're just gonna extend the leg straight out while keeping the opposite leg as stationary as possible. Now, if for some reason you're feeling a little back discomfort, a few things you could think about is try to get the butt off the ground a little bit more, and that'll force you to engage your stomach. But try to maintain that position as you extend straight out, okay? From there, if that still bothers you, you can also try to push your belly button down into the ground as you're lifting the butt off the ground and trying to maintain that position. But if that puts too much pressure on the low back, your other option would be lying down and putting pressure into your knees. Just a little bit of pressure into the knees, and the knees putting pressure into the palms, still keeping that neutral spine, and do more pulses. So you squeeze, release, push, release. And you would do about 6 to 8 reps of that and rest like you were doing with the previous movements. Now within a program like this, you have a few different options. Number one, you can go through all the movements one by one, meaning you can start with the step-ups, do 3 sets of 6 on each side, and then you move on to the rows, 3 sets, 6 on each side. So you isolate each exercise. Or your other option would be creating more of a circuit. Maybe you're on a time crunch and you want to get all the movements in. So what you can do is you can do everything, meaning step-ups into the rows, into the RDLs, into the overhead, down into the Deadbugs, and then rest when you're finished with all 5 sets. Rest, gauge on how all the movements felt. Maybe the rows felt really good and you have some heavier dumbbells accessible, you use that, but the step-ups just didn't feel comfortable with the weight, so maybe you back off on the weight, okay? There's always options on how to go about the movements, and you can always keep it fun and exciting. You can even do more of a Tabata setup if you want, but for the most part, the idea and the purpose of this video is to introduce strength training to the average individual who doesn't feel comfortable, and I'm trying to give you more of like a personal training setup with these videos. So try to stay away from the Tabatas, stick with that strength circuit. You can just focus on building muscle as opposed to burning your body down to the ground. I hope this video helps. Leave a comment in the comment section if you tried it. Let me know what movements you liked, and stay tuned for the next video. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.